802. Cthugha. But even though we shielded our eyes, it was impossible not to see the great amorphous shapes streaming skyward from this accursed place, nor the equally great being hovering like a cloud of living fire above the trees. Oggy Dog Derleth, the dweller in the darkness.
Cthugha!
Greetings, listeners. We're back once again to talk to you about the Cthulhu mythos, its books, its monsters, its unfortunate human casualties, its timeline in general, and even its tangential bits, like the Dreamlands, or things of a weird nature, or things that are Lovecraftian leaning. Weird fiction, science fiction, horror. Learn of terrible meetings in lonely places, of cyclopean ruins and vast staircases that lead down to abysses of nighted secrets, of complex angles that lead through invisible walls to other regions of space and time, and of hideous explorations in remote and forbidden places, on other worlds, and in different time-space continua. From the creation of our galaxy to the death of the sun, this is an exploration of the Cthulhu mythos from the perspective of humans' concept of history. We are the people's guide to the Cthulhu mythos. You can find us at pgttcm.com, pgttcm.podbean.com, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The People's Guide to the Cthulhu mythos starts now.
The People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Season 8.
Written and edited by Daniel Spitzer. Audio by Sarah Fee and Daniel Spitzer. Music by Kevin MacLeod. Help the show by sharing, rating, liking, or 5-star giving wherever you listen to or rate podcasts. Support the show by hitting the Patreon button on pgttcm.podbean.com or by going to paypal.me/pgttcm. Buy a cool shirt from pgttcm.threadless.com, which I did last week. PGTTCM is a part of the Dark Myths Collective. Learn more at darkmyths.org, and don't forget to visit pgttcm.com.
All right.
All right.
People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos is back again for
Woo-hoo.
802.
802, man. It's like we're on a roll or something.
I know. So, Fire God Cthugha and his brood.
Yeah. So he had 2 kids, and one of his kids is like a deity and didn't have any kids, and the other one's like, I gotta get all the kids.
What are his kids' names?
Cthugha and Apum-Za.
Apum-Za, which Cthugha and Apum-Za are Lynn Carter deities.
Yeah.
And Lynn Carter deities are generally, like Lynn Carter wrote in the 70s and 80s primarily, but took a lot of stuff from Clark Ashton Smith, H.P. Lovecraft, August Derleth, and my feeling made kind of like this like denser Cthulhu mythos that layered on top of Derleth's and Lovecraft's pretty well, and just like kind of like you had this like puzzle that Derleth had started to put together with all these different writers, and then Lynn Carter came in and was like, well, hey, I've got the corners.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, no, Fire God Cthugha. It's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah. One of the things here, of course, is that because this Cthugha is not a creation of H.P. himself, then like it feels like the mythos is thin around him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that that has more to do with like the lack of inspiration that people feel when it's not a Lovecraft creation, like, and so they don't use him as much? Or do you think that it's just like there's something spoopy in particular about the way Lovecraft does his deities, so they feel more like fleshed out? Or do you think it's the fact that Cthugha sounds too much like Cthulhu?
Okay. So
I know that was a lot.
August Derleth, let me unpack that, and you know how well I unpack things as you sit in a studio full of laundry.
It's true. It's very true. Let's unpack it then.
All right. Let's see. So August Derleth, I feel like was really good at keeping the Cthulhu mythos alive and coming up with great ideas. Some of his ideas kind of like ridiculed, like the elemental theory. Derleth wanted things to sound, and this is true with a lot of people who want to write for or with or about the Cthulhu mythos, will borrow common sounding names like Cthugha, Cthugha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rantagoth doesn't quite sound like the other ones, but
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
my favorite one is definitely the Gnocchi.
yeah.
So I'm like, somebody would have had Italian that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hung motionless in a black, forbidding sky, and at first thought he was suspended somewhere in the intersolar depths, much closer to the sun than on Earth. But then he realized that the dully gleaming orb which floated before his dreaming vision was not the sun. Ugly dark blotches moulted the dull orange surface, and great columns of spinning flame arced around the rim. He watched. The Titan sunspots drift slowly across the hideous disk, at times growing larger and merging into great gaping chasms in the fiery atmosphere, while at others dwindling almost to nothingness. Something was stirring deep within that fiery atmosphere, something monstrous that roared in insatiable anger against the chains of the elder gods which had bound it there for an eternity, unable to resist, utterly powerless to control his movements. He was diving headlong towards that ravening chaos. That age-old intelligence was Cthugha, John Glasby, the Dark Mirror.
Cthugha is a fictional deity and creation of Agidog Derleth. In Derleth's addition to the Cthulhu mythos, Cthugha is a great old one, an elemental spirit of fire opposed to the elder gods. In post-Lovecraft stories, the elder gods oppose the likes of Cthulhu and his ilk. Derleth attempted to retroactively group the benevolent Nodens in this category, who acts as a deus ex machina for the protagonists in both the dream quest of unknown Kadath and the strange high house in the mist. With regards to the nature of the great old ones, Joseph S. Pulver Sr. mentions in his Nightmare's Disciple in 2006 a series of original elder gods, though lacking of any description about their true form. Derleth set Cthugha's homeworld as the star Famulat, which had featured in Lovecraft's poetry. He first appeared in Derleth's short story The House on Kerwin Street, 1944. Cthugha may have had two progeny, Cthugha and Apumza. Lynn Carter created Cthugha as the regent of the fire vampires, and like his minions, he gains energy and knowledge from the intelligent creatures they slay. Cthugha and his minions can better plot their attacks on the sentient races of the universe, who they regard as mere sources of food. Cthugha and his servants dwell in a huge building on the surface of a mysterious comet called Quintanilla. They can guide this comet throughout the cosmos, searching for intelligent civilizations to feed upon. Apumza is worshipped as the Lord of the Pole because he dwells, like Ithaqua, above the Arctic Circle. Apumza frequently visited Hyperborea during the last ice age. His legend is chronicled in the Akkadic manuscripts. Apumza appears as a vast, cold, gray flame that freezes whatever it touches. The being came to Earth from the star Famulat, briefly visiting the planets Yakash, Neptune, before taking up residence in Mount Yarak, a legendary mountain atop the North Pole. When the elder gods tried to imprison him beneath the pole, Apumza erupted with such fury that he froze the lands around him.
We'd like to thank you for listening to People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Our sponsor is BunnySlippers.com, your finest source of wonderful Cthulhu slippers and cool shirts from FoundItemClothing.com, your favorite shirts from your favorite cult films, and also these fine folks.
Apumza is believed to be responsible for the glaciation that eventually overwhelmed Hyperborea, Zabna, and Lomar. Apumza likely spawned Nyokik, Ran-Tegath, and Vorm. Though no human cult worships this being, Apumza is revered by the Nyokik, the Vormi, and his own race of minions, the spectral Yildahem. Darlith also attempted to connect the deities of the mythos to the four elements,
Air, earth, fire, and water.
creating new beings representative of certain elements in order to legitimize his system of classification. Derleth created Cthugha as a sort of fire elemental when a fan, Francis Towner Laney, editor of The Acolyte, a fanzine, complained that he had neglected to include the element in his scheme. Up next, What October Brings by Doug Draw.
What October Brings. A Lovecraftian celebration of Halloween. Halloween, a time of laughing children in white bedsheets and superhero costumes. A time for chocolate candy and pumpkins and trick or treat. A time for dark things everywhere to slink out of the shadows and into our lives, reminding those unlucky few that have charades of Halloween cannot erase the century-old histories of pain behind the facade. What October Brings celebrates the dark traditions of the autumn rituals, of Halloween and Samhain, in homage to the uniquely fascinating fiction of H.P. Lovecraft, master short story author once in a lifetime trick-or-treat experience. Perhaps your last. Salino Press. So, this is a great book edited by Doug Draw of Weird Book Fiction, or Weird Book, just Weird Book. But yeah, this is a really, really nice, fun collection of Lovecraftian short stories, starting out with Halloween in a Suburb by Howard Phillips Lovecraft. Ever hear of the
The
guy?
steeples are white in the wild moonlight, and the trees have a silver glare. Past the chimneys high see the vampires fly, and the harpies of upper air that flutter and laugh and stare. For the village dead, to the moon outspread, never shone in the street's gleam, but grew out of the deep that the dead years keep, where rivers of madness teem down the gulfs to a pit of dream. A child who weaves through the rows of sheaves in the meadows that shimmer pale, and comes in twine where the headstones shine, and the ghouls of the churchyard wail for harvests that fly and fail. For beneath the strange gray gods of change that tore from the past its own, can quicken this hour when a spectral power spreads sleep over the cosmic throne and looses the vast unknown.
That is but a taste of what exists. We've got some great stuff like Narlethotep Came Down to Georgia by Nancy Holder. We've got A Night of Masks by Brian M. Sammons. We've got Spider Wasp by Tim Curran. We've got The War on Halloween by Cody Goodfellow. That's got to be good. We've got some Cosmic Cola by Lucy A. Snyder. Summer's End, Erica Rupert. Inheritance by Anne K. Schwader. There's quite a few. The Immortician by Andre E. Harwood. There's quite a bit of lovely books, and it's a poof. Ooh, how much does this go for? Well, I'm sure it's under $20 if you look for it on the Amazon.com. I don't have a price listing for it in front of me. I apologize. But it is a well-constructed paperback book. No physical blemishes of poor craftsmanship. Oh, why am I still talking like that? Sorry about that. And yeah, no, it's a nice book. It has a beautiful new book smell to it. I love getting books in the mail that way. And if you have a book and you're not just some published, self-published, like, hey, I had these printed up on Amazon, like you paid an editor, a real editor, you did all the work, you did your due diligence, you've worked on it, you've workshopped it. You have a constructed book, not just a collection of words. And you want me to talk about it. If you are published or part of an anthology and just, want me to check out the anthology, contact me. Go to pgttcm.com and click on the contact button or track me down on social media. Not me, but pgttcm. So let's talk about fire gods.
Okay, so do you want to talk about fire gods in general, like from Helios and fiery sun gods?
Yeah, I'm kind of dumb when it comes to like actual
other mythos.
Well, like real mythos, like it's like I know
mythology
there's
in general?
no. Most of my like gods that I know of, I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's not a real god. That's from Dungeons and Dragons. That's that's from
Dungeons and Dragons actually does borrow a lot of like, if you will, quote unquote, real mythology, whatever that means. But like older mythology, or it's like Christianity in that way. It's like it draws from other cultures a lot.
Oh, definitely.
To create its own cohesive ideas.
Older Dungeons and Dragons definitely had the problem of using like gods that people still worshipped, but they'd be like, oh yeah, and that's an evil god, and people are like, I worship Baal.
Oh goodness gracious!
Your
nobody
death murder god
still worships Baal.
I don't know. Some
Baal
people do.
is an extinct god.
All right.
Look, even in Neil Gaiman's book American Gods, Baal is an extinct god. He's in the like Hall of Extincted Gods in Shadow's Dream. Okay, little too much information.
All right, let's talk about fire gods.
Okay, fire gods. So mostly people didn't like celebrate fire as its own deity. It was mostly celebrated or thought of as like a part of the sun.
Okay.
In my knowledge anyway. I'm sure that there was like, cultures out there that were all like, well, the sun is one thing, and then this little fire that makes our food edible is a whole nother thing. There's actually been some speculation in anthropological circles that one of the reasons that humans were able to evolve into the, self-aware thinking creatures that we are with our giant brains is because we developed fire, and that allowed us to get enough nutrients from our food sources to be able to have enough calories to support a large brain, because thinking takes a lot of energy.
Yes, it does.
And so like it's a crazy thing how basic fire is to humanity, in that it's something that isn't constantly present in nature. So like, for instance, what's constantly present in nature, like the sun, dirt, water, air, but like fire happens, but it doesn't happen all the time. Lightning strikes happen, and that can cause like a big fire, especially in a dry season or something. But most of the fires that happen because humans nowadays set them, and that's why there's fire. And humans are like the makers of fire and made by fire. It's kind of an interesting cycle.
Yeah. So I imagine when fire was a bit more, will it, won't it?
Yeah.
It might be something that's like, well, we gotta worship the sun god for sun. We gotta worship the rain god for rain, and god damn it, we gotta worship the fire god for fire.
Right.
Because otherwise, we don't know if it's gonna. It's like, oh hey, what about this fermentation god?
Oh man.
Or goddess.
Oh yeah, no, because that's all about fecundity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is a great word for making babies. So, fire is, obviously, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I don't know about people. Like, I really seriously am thinking about my knowledge of myth, and there's, like, the sun god Ra, and there's that's from Egypt, and then there's the Greek god Helios for the sun, and, I know there's a sun god in Norse mythology as well, but I'm blanking. And then in Polynesian cultures, there's fire gods, but they're mostly centered around volcanoes.
Okay.
Like, in the movie Moana.
Yeah, no. I'm starting to realize our knowledge is starting to bump up against pop culture quite a bit.
Well, I mean, I'm a creature of pop culture, like any consumer of any kind of media ever. It's just, I mean, I didn't spend all of my life trapped in a library where the books stopped being written after 1925. So, yeah. I am a creature of pop culture, and so are you.
Yep, that's very true.
And so are all of our listeners.
I hope so.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Because then they'll find this way more interesting.
Certainly.
Yeah. But I think that what I heard, and I've not done any research on this, so yay. But what I heard is that Moana is a pretty, in some ways, accurate representation of Polynesian culture.
Uh-huh.
Not like perfectly accurate and like that, but that they got at least the names right.
Sure.
Anyway, so yeah, so there's like, fire, huge part of our creation.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry to keep going back to that.
No. Quick question. I mean, it's good to keep going back to the topic of the show. So, question.
Uh-huh.
And I know my answer.
Okay.
If there was a fire god,
Yes.
if you could make sacrifices
Uh-huh.
and have, a fire god that would grant you boons and bonuses,
Yes.
would you?
Well, it presupposes a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for instance,
It's like the difference between like a hearth god and like a malevolent fire god that will lay waste to all of your foes.
Right. Well, it also presupposes that that there's any kind of control one can exercise in the universe.
Sure.
But I suppose if there was some way, I probably would, as long as it wasn't like living sacrifices.
Well, you're out of luck there.
Oh, shoot you. No, I just, on a really like metaphysical level, I think sacrifice is an important thing for people to do in general, just for our own like human involvement in the world, like getting bigger and better and being better us's.
Sure.
But that has less to do with like taking other people's things and getting rid of them, but like letting go of something that's important to you because it would help other people is like a really huge gift that you can give. And as we know, giving gifts is what makes us human beings. So would you do sacrifices?
No, I would not worship some alien god thing of fire.
not this Aggie-Dog Durlith, creation. If this guy was real, absolutely not.
No. But no. A fire god in general, if it, if it was like demanding human sacrifices, I'd be like, I don't think so.
Yeah, no way that there would be human or living sacrifices that I would.
Something I do want to talk about is this is October.
Yes.
And October is going to be all about Lord Dunsany.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what our readings are all going to be, is Lord Dunsany.
Interesting.
A huge influence for H.P. Lovecraft, even creating the mythos.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did Lord Dunsany do his own mythos? Or
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, and this is stuff that you're going to want to listen to because it is like really kind of cool British fantasy from the late 1800s, early 20th century.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the illustrations for it are amazing.
Cool.
And if any of it is in the public domain, which it's so nice, I seriously doubt it. But also, who knows? So I'm gonna include some of the illustrations for that.
That sounds great.
That's coming up throughout the month of October, but I need to get off my ass and take it.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Man. I'm looking forward to October even more now. Seeing as how it's my favorite month outside of April.
Oh, yeah. So, that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. I've been DB Spitzer.
I've been Seraphy.
And remember to
rate, review, and subscribe. Stay squiggly.
And keep it weird.
Oh, man. Do that again?
No. We did it great there. All right. Thank you again, everyone.
Yay.
PGTTCM.com, PGTTCM.podbean.com, PGTTCM.threadless.com, darkmyths.org, and everyone else. You're all awesome. Thank you for listening. Rate, review, and subscribe, as Sarah said. And if you want to donate on PayPal or become a patron, for the base thing, we'll say your name every episode. If you're one of those people who likes to hear your name on a podcast that you listen to, I love hearing that. And that's why I do patron stuff.
Oh, yeah?
And, donate things and do drawings and, send
Cool.
recordings so I can be like, well, Daniel Spitzer said, and then be like, that's not what I said, and be like, oh.
The bit on the edge of a king's robe, which is what happens with erming, by the way.
What?
Okay, you know how people depict the robe of a king or the cape of a king as having that white edging with black dots on it? That's erming trim, and it's created by killing 20,000 tiny little mouse-like creatures that are all white with a black tip on the tail. So those black dots are just the black tip of the tail. Yeah.
What?
You could probably cut this part out.
No, this is...
Is this banter gold here?
This is crazy. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. It's really super soft fur. And they're called something else when they're not an erming. I'm trying to remember what it is. It's somebody out there's yelling right now. It's some sort of mole. He's like a vole or something like that when he's not an erming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tiny little, it's about 6 inches long, including the tail.
And if you happen to run into us at HP Lovecraft Film Festival, if you ran into us, you may hear some amazing stories like that. Learn some amazing factoids from Sarah or myself.
Oh, yeah. We're full of encyclopedic knowledge
Yeah.
about not mythos-related things as well.